Most people pray for blessing, but still prepare for failure. You say you trust God, but you move like it's all on you. You ask for overflow, but think in scarcity. You say the door is coming, but keep checking the lock. Here's the shift. Faith isn't waiting to see it happen. Faith is moving like it already has. When you act like it's done, your posture changes, your language changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your life changes. You stop begging, you stop doubting, you stop hesitating, you start building, you start sowing, you start expecting. God doesn't respond to panic, he responds to belief. And belief isn't what you say in prayer, it's how you move after you say amen. If you really trusted that it was handled, what would you do differently today? That's the question. Let me tell you something most people miss. Faith is not a prayer you whisper when things get hard. Faith is a posture you carry when things look impossible. Anybody can pray when they're in trouble. Anybody can say, God, please fix this. But the real question is, what does your life look like after you say amen? Because faith is not proven by what you say in private. It's proven by how you move in public. If you really believe it's done, your posture shifts. You stop slouching in doubt. You stop shrinking in rooms you're called to lead. You stop speaking with hesitation about a future that heaven has already authorized. When faith becomes posture, you don't wait for evidence. You become the evidence. Most people treat faith like a lottery ticket. They throw up a prayer and hope something hits. But faith isn't gambling. Faith is alignment. It's bringing your behavior into agreement with what you say you believe. If you believe the business is going to succeed, why are you still operating like it's temporary? If you believe the opportunity is coming, why aren't you preparing like it's already scheduled? If you believe increase is on the way, why are you still thinking in survival mode? See, survival posture and success posture look different. Survival says, let me hold back just in case. Success says, let me expand because it's already handled. Survival waits for confirmation. Success prepares for manifestation. And here's what most people don't understand. God doesn't respond to fear-driven movement. He responds to faith-driven alignment. When you act like it's done, you create capacity for it to show up. Capacity is the key. You can't pray for overflow and still live like you're afraid of empty. You can't ask for abundance while making decisions rooted in lack. Your life will always expand or contract to match your posture. If your shoulders are heavy with doubt, your decisions will be small. If your spirit is anchored in certainty, your actions will be bold. Faith is not emotional hype. It's disciplined expectation. It's waking up and preparing for meetings that aren't on the calendar yet. It's studying for opportunities you haven't been invited to yet. It's building systems for income you haven't received yet. That's posture. When you carry yourself like it's already done, people feel it. You don't have to announce it. Confidence doesn't scream, it radiates. There's a calmness about someone who knows it's handled. They're not frantic, they're not desperate, they're not chasing validation, they're positioned, and position changes everything. When your posture shifts, your language shifts. You stop saying, I hope. You start saying, I expect. You stop saying maybe. You start saying when. Your words reveal your alignment. And alignment is what attracts opportunity. Because opportunities are drawn to certainty. Doors don't open for the most talented person in the room. They open for the most aligned person in the room. The one who walks in like they belong there. The one who speaks like they've already seen the outcome. The one who doesn't need applause to keep moving. That's faith as posture. Now let's go deeper. Posture requires responsibility, because if you're going to act like it's done, you can't act lazy. You can't act distracted. You can't act casual about your calling. If it's done, then your excellence should reflect it. You don't show up late to something you believe is ordained. You don't underprepare for something you believe is destined. You don't shrink back from something you believe is assigned. When you know it's handled, you handle your part with precision. See, too many people want God to do his part while they neglect theirs. But faith posture says, I trust him completely, and I'm going to execute relentlessly. That combination is unstoppable. Trust removes anxiety. Execution removes excuses. And when those two meet, momentum happens. The reason some people stay stuck isn't because heaven said no. It's because their posture said doubt. And doubt delays what belief would accelerate. So you have to decide, are you going to live bent over by circumstances, or are you going to stand upright in expectation? Because when you stand upright, you see further. When you stand upright, you breathe deeper. When you stand upright, you move stronger. Posture affects perspective, and perspective affects performance. You cannot walk in power while thinking in panic. You cannot operate in abundance while rehearsing scarcity. And you cannot receive what you're praying for if your life contradicts your prayer. Faith is not waiting for the result to act confident. Faith is acting confident before the result arrives. And when you master that posture, when your behavior aligns with your belief, you stop hoping it works out. You start moving like it already has. Let's deal with something that makes people uncomfortable. You cannot ask for increase while refusing to initiate. You cannot ask for harvest while you're still holding the seed in your hand. And you definitely cannot ask God to bless what you won't build. A lot of people are praying for expansion, but they're not executing. They're asking for overflow, but they're avoiding responsibility. They want the miracle, but they don't want the movement. Here's how this works. Heaven responds to motion. You don't multiply nothing. You multiply something. Every time you see increase, it started with somebody putting something in the ground. Time, effort, money, skill, energy, focus. Something had to move before anything grew. But most people are waiting for confirmation before they commit. If I see the contract, then I'll prepare. If I see the customers, then I'll build the system. If I see the money, then I'll invest in myself. No, that's not faith. That's negotiation. Faith says I'm going to build like the contract is already signed. I'm going to structure like the clients are already coming. I'm going to develop like the platform is already mine, because the blessing doesn't create the discipline. The discipline attracts the blessing. Let me say that again. The blessing doesn't create the discipline. The discipline attracts the blessing. You don't wake up disciplined after success shows up. Success shows up because you were disciplined before it arrived. Too many people are praying for financial freedom but won't learn financial literacy. They're praying for influence but won't develop communication skills. They're praying for business growth but won't master consistency. God multiplies what you manage well. If you can't steward 10, why would you receive 10,000? If you can't manage one opportunity with excellence, why would you receive 10? See, asking is easy. Building is commitment. Building requires early mornings when nobody sees you. It requires late nights when nobody applauds you. It requires doing the work before the reward. And here's the powerful part. When you build in faith, you remove desperation from your energy. Desperate people beg. Builders prepare. When you're desperate, you need somebody to say yes. When you're building, you're ready for whoever says yes. There's a difference. Stop asking God to bless your procrastination. Stop asking him to multiply your hesitation. Stop asking him to accelerate what you keep delaying. If you believe provision is assigned to you, then act like a steward, not a spectator. Plant something. Write the book. Launch the offer, make the call, register the business, study the craft. Movement signals belief. And let's go deeper. Sometimes the reason people don't build is because building exposes you. When you start constructing something real, you can fail publicly. You can be criticized. You can be rejected. But here's the truth. Staying idle doesn't protect you. It limits you. Nothing grows in comfort. Everything grows under pressure. A seed has to be buried before it breaks through. That burial doesn't mean it's dying. It means it's developing. Some of you are afraid to put your seed in the ground because you're scared it won't work. But keeping it in your hand guarantees it won't. You can't multiply what you refuse to release. And when you finally decide to move, something shifts inside of you. Your confidence increases, your clarity sharpens, your focus intensifies, because action creates evidence. Small wins build big belief. When you take one step and see progress, your faith expands. When you launch and learn, your competence grows. When you execute and adjust, momentum builds. Momentum is powerful. Momentum makes fear shrink. Momentum makes doubt quieter. Momentum makes opportunities visible. But you only get momentum when you move. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions don't exist. Builders build in imperfect environments. They adapt, they adjust, they refine. You don't need certainty to start. You need commitment. And here's the beautiful part. When you start building, you realize you're not alone. Doors begin to open. Conversations begin to happen. Resources begin to show up. Not because you begged for them, but because you positioned yourself for them. Provision follows preparation. The reason some prayers feel unanswered isn't because heaven ignored you. It's because heaven is waiting for you to initiate. You say you want overflow. Good. What system have you built to handle it? You say you want influence. Good. What value have you developed to sustain it? You say you want increase. Good. What have you planted? Blessing is not random. It's responsive. When you build, you give God something to breathe on. When you move, you give heaven something to multiply. When you plant, you give growth permission. So stop waiting for proof before you produce. Stop waiting for applause before you act. Stop waiting for certainty before you commit. Build like it's already approved. Plant like it's already promised. Move like it's already multiplied. And watch what happens when faith finally meets execution. Let me show you something powerful. Expectation changes your energy, and your energy determines what you attract, what you tolerate, and what you experience. You can walk into a room with doubt and people will feel it before you ever open your mouth, or you can walk into that same room with certainty and the atmosphere shifts because you showed up. Nothing externally changed, but internally, everything did. That's the power of expectation. When you truly believe it's done, you stop operating from desperation. And desperation has a scent. It leaks into your tone. It shows up in your body language. It hides behind over-explaining and over-justifying. Desperation makes you chase. It makes you convince. It makes you shrink just enough so you don't lose the opportunity. But expectation stands tall. Expectation doesn't beg for approval. It prepares for arrival. There's a difference between needing something to happen and knowing something is coming. When you need it, you grip too tight. When you know it's coming, you stay open-handed, and open hands are ready to receive. Most people repel what they want because they're trying too hard to get it. They're anxious, they're restless, they're emotionally attached to one outcome, one door, one person. That attachment creates pressure, and pressure pushes things away. Expectation, on the other hand, creates space. When you expect success, your voice steadies. When you expect favor, your decisions become cleaner. When you expect provision, you stop making fear-based compromises. Energy shifts behavior. If you expect rejection, you'll hesitate before you even try. If you expect failure, you'll subconsciously sabotage your effort. But if you expect victory, you'll attempt things other people are too intimidated to approach. Expectation raises your standards. You stop accepting crumbs when you believe a table is being prepared. You stop entertaining distractions when you believe alignment is ahead. You stop settling for average when you expect excellence. And here's what most people miss. Expectation is visible. It's visible in how you walk. It's visible in how you speak. It's visible in how you respond under pressure. Someone who expects things to work out doesn't panic at obstacles. They interpret obstacles differently. Where others see denial, they see redirection. Where others see delay, they see development. Expectation reframes reality. If you walk into a negotiation expecting to lose, your posture closes. Your shoulders tighten, your tone softens. But if you walk in expecting mutual benefit, your presence expands. You listen better. You communicate clearer. You hold your value. People respond to that. Confidence rooted in expectation is magnetic. It doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It simply exists without apology. And understand this, expectation is not arrogance. Arrogance says, I deserve this because I'm better. Expectation says, I'm aligned with this because I'm prepared. Prepared people expect results. Unprepared people hope for miracles. Expectation is built on preparation. When you've done the work, when you've built the skill, when you've strengthened your discipline, you naturally expect a return. Not because you're entitled, but because you're positioned. And positioning changes outcomes. Let's be honest. Many people are exhausted not because they're working hard, but because they're worrying hard. Worry drains energy. Expectation fuels it. When you expect things to align, you conserve emotional strength. You don't overreact to small setbacks. You don't spiral when one door closes. You don't internalize temporary circumstances as permanent identity. Expectation keeps you steady, and steady people win long term. Flashy confidence fades, emotional hype fades, but grounded expectation sustains. When you expect it to work, you try again after failure. You adjust instead of quitting. You refine instead of retreating, because your internal narrative says, this is working for me, even if I can't see it yet. That belief affects your physiology. It affects your tone. It affects how long you stay in the game. And the person who stays in the game with certainty will outlast the person who shows up with doubt. Here's the deeper truth. What you expect, you subconsciously look for. If you expect opportunity, you'll notice openings others ignore. If you expect connection, you'll see potential partnerships where others see strangers. If you expect growth, you'll interpret feedback as improvement instead of insult. Expectation sharpens awareness, and awareness creates advantage. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are aligned with. If your internal alignment is fear, you'll attract confirming experiences. If your internal alignment is expectation, you'll attract opportunities that match it. So the question becomes, what energy are you carrying? Are you walking around hoping, or are you walking around expecting? Because hope whispers, maybe. Expectation declares, when. And when you move through life with expectation, you stop chasing outcomes. Outcomes start finding you. Let's make this practical. Because at the end of the day, your life does not move in the direction of your intentions. It moves in the direction of your decisions. You can say you believe it's done. You can say you trust the process. You can say you have faith, but your decisions will always expose what you truly believe. Belief is not proven in conversation. It's proven in commitment. If you really believed the opportunity was secured, would you still hesitate to invest in yourself? If you truly believed increase was inevitable, would you still delay execution? If you honestly believed the outcome was handled, would you keep playing small to stay comfortable? Your decisions are a mirror. They reflect your internal certainty or your internal doubt. Think about it. When someone believes the chair will hold them, they sit without testing it 10 times. They don't negotiate with it. They don't cautiously hover over it. They commit their full weight because they trust its structure. But when you don't trust something, you ease into it. You hold back. You brace yourself for collapse. Many people are easing into their destiny. They're halfway committed, halfway disciplined, halfway focused, because part of them still believes it might not work. And that hesitation leaks into every action. You cannot produce powerful results from hesitant decisions. Decisiveness is a byproduct of belief. When you believe something is aligned, you move quickly. When you believe something is inevitable, you stop overanalyzing every step. Indecision is often disguised fear. You call it research. You call it waiting for the right time. You call it being wise. But sometimes it's just disbelief hiding behind logic. Now understand, wisdom matters. Strategy matters. But delayed obedience is still disobedience when you know you're supposed to move. If you believe the door is open, walk through it. If you believe the idea is assigned to you, execute it. If you believe provision is coming, position yourself for it. Because here's what happens when your decisions align with belief. Momentum accelerates. Aligned decisions create clarity. Clarity reduces friction. Reduced friction increases speed. But misaligned decisions create resistance. And resistance drains energy. When you say you trust but decide in fear, you create internal conflict. You feel stuck. You feel frustrated. You feel tired, not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing it divided. Division weakens power. When your belief and your decisions are unified, there's strength. You wake up with focus. You move with conviction. You speak with authority. Authority isn't loud. It's certain. And certainty simplifies choices. People who truly believe it's done don't spend hours debating small steps. They act. They adjust. They act again. They understand that clarity often comes from movement, not meditation. Overthinking is the enemy of execution. You don't steer a parked car, you steer a moving one. So if you want direction, start driving. Now let's go deeper. Your financial decisions reveal your belief about abundance. Your relationship decisions reveal your belief about value. Your health decisions reveal your belief about longevity. What you repeatedly choose becomes what you consistently experience, and consistency compounds. One fearful decision might not change your life, but repeated fearful decisions create a fearful pattern. One bold decision might not transform everything, but repeated bold decisions reshape your trajectory. Small choices, repeated daily, determine long-term destiny. If you truly believe God has already approved it, you stop negotiating with distractions. You stop entertaining mediocrity. You stop shrinking to fit environments that no longer match your calling. Because belief creates boundaries, you don't accept what contradicts what you expect. And that's where transformation happens. Not in one emotional moment, not in one powerful prayer, but in everyday decisions that align with what you say you believe. When your alarm goes off, do you decide like it's done? When fear whispers, do you decide like it's done? When opportunity knocks, do you decide like it's done? Your future is waiting on your decision making. And here's the powerful part. Once you start deciding from belief instead of fear, confidence grows naturally. You don't have to manufacture motivation. You don't have to convince yourself daily. Your actions reinforce your identity. Action builds identity. When you consistently choose discipline, you become disciplined. When you consistently choose courage, you become courageous. When you consistently choose alignment, you become unstoppable. But it all starts with one thing. Deciding as if it's already secured, not recklessly, not arrogantly, but confidently. Because when your decisions line up with your declaration, you eliminate internal contradiction. And when there's no contradiction, there's no hesitation. And when there's no hesitation, there's acceleration. So stop announcing belief while making fearful choices. Decide like it's already done. Now let's talk about something that most people overlook when they say they have faith. Peace. Peace is not passive. Peace is proof. If you're still anxious, still restless, still losing sleep over the outcome, then somewhere deep down you're still trying to control what you said you surrendered. And control is often disguised fear. It's the belief that if you don't grip it tightly, it might fall apart. But if it's truly done, why are you still holding your breath? Peace is the evidence that you trust him. When you trust the outcome is handled, your nervous system relaxes. Your thoughts become clearer. Your emotions stabilize. You don't react to every little shift in circumstance because your confidence isn't tied to what you see. It's anchored in what you believe. Anxiety says, what if it doesn't happen? Peace says, it's already handled. And here's what's powerful. Now, peace doesn't mean inactivity. It means you work without worry, you build without panic, you execute without desperation. There's a difference between working from faith and working from fear. When you work from fear, you rush, you overcommit, you overpromise, you chase validation, you feel pressure to force outcomes, you're constantly checking results because your security is tied to performance. But when you work from faith, you focus, you move deliberately, you honor process, you make decisions from clarity, not chaos. Peace sharpens you. A calm mind sees opportunities. A frantic mind misses. A steady heart makes decisions. A fearful heart avoids. Peace gives you perspective, and perspective protects you from emotional mistakes. Some of the worst decisions people make happen in panic. They quit too early. They partner with the wrong people. They compromise their values. They accept less than they deserve. Why? Because anxiety convinced them something was slipping away. But what's for you doesn't require panic to preserve it. Let that settle. If you truly believe it's assigned, you won't sabotage it with insecurity. If you truly believe it's aligned, you won't rush it out of fear. If you truly believe it's done, you won't lose your peace every time there's a delay. Delays test trust, and trust is revealed in your emotional stability. Anybody can be confident when everything is going right. But can you remain steady when timelines shift? Can you stay grounded when doors close? Can you keep your joy when progress seems slow? Peace says yes. Peace says, I will do my part with excellence, and I will release what I cannot control. And releasing control is strength, not weakness. Control drains energy. Surrender restores it. When you stop trying to manipulate outcomes, you free up mental space. When you stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios, you gain creative capacity. When you stop obsessing over results, you improve your performance. Peace improves performance. Because when you're not distracted by fear, you can fully engage in execution. You can listen better. You can think clearer. You can respond strategically instead of emotionally. Peace is power under control. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's steady, and steady wins long term. Think about it. A storm may be loud, but it doesn't last. The ocean beneath it remains deep and unmoved. That's how you have to become deep enough that temporary turbulence doesn't shake permanent belief. If you say it's done, then live like it's done. That means you stop checking for signs every 5 minutes. That means you stop seeking constant reassurance. That means you stop measuring your worth by immediate results. You show up, you execute, you refine, you trust, and you rest at night knowing you did your part. Peace allows you to rest without guilt, to pause without fear, to smile without conditions, because your confidence is no longer rooted in outcomes, it's rooted in alignment. When you're aligned, you don't have to force anything. What belongs will connect. What doesn't will fall away, and you won't crumble either way. That's maturity. That's strength. That's faith fully developed. So if you're still anxious, ask yourself, what am I still trying to control? If you're still restless, ask yourself, what have I not fully surrendered? Because once you release the outcome, you gain clarity. Once you release the fear, you gain focus. Once you release the pressure, you gain power. Act like it's done. Do your part with excellence and let him handle what only he can handle.